Hello, my name is Gisela Pink, and I'm here with my co-host Julia Lisk. Welcome to Intimate Leadership. This episode is brought to you by Stoll's Lifestyle. More about that later. Today, we are delighted to have Sarah Windrum. But first of all, I just want to introduce my co-host, Julia. Hello, Julia.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Great.
Very excited about today. So let's hear a little bit about Sarah.
Sarah Windrum is a technology business founder and investor. Currently, she's leading the development of the Mira Tech Park's future mobility cluster in the Midlands. She served as the former chair of Coventry and Warwickshire Local Enterprise Partnership, and her current roles include Midlands Engineer Digital Board, West Midlands Economic Growth and Innovation Board, Director of the Coventry and Warwickshire Chamber of Commerce, and also she's a Regional Fellow at the University of Warwick and holds an MSc in Data Science from Coventry University. That's an extensive background, Sarah.
Sounds like a lot when you read it out
It
like
does,
that, doesn't it?
Yeah. And your experience of leadership in public and private sectors, mind-blowing.
Yeah, that's second to none. It's great to hear, though, that a woman in the manufacturing industry is leading the way. You shared with me that you run your own business and then sold it.
That's
I
right.
think it was 2021, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
How did you know it was time? And what was it that you saw that it was an opportunity to move forward?
So that's an interesting question. I think I had always thought I would exit the business, but it was always in 5 years. I think 5 years is one of those kind of time frames, isn't it? We don't actually have to do anything about it today, right now, but it will happen. And then COVID happened. And I don't know if other people felt this, but I felt that COVID was like a magnifying glass on your life. So all of a sudden, all the things that perhaps you weren't that happy with or you wanted to change suddenly felt huge. You know, they felt like kind of big blockages, I think, in your life. And I think what had happened with the business was I wasn't in love with it anymore. I wasn't in love with what it did and what it was offering. So yes, I think after, coming out of COVID thinking, right, that made me really actually quite unhappy. What do I need to do about that? So got the business valued. And once I got the valuation back, we worked with a great accountant. So I knew that what it was worth at that point to get to the next bracket, if you like, it was so much work, so much effort, and I didn't have that. I didn't have that drive. I didn't have that passion. So I knew that it was the time to sell it.
Yep, I can completely understand that. I've just went through the sale of my company. When you're ready.
Yes.
Yeah, it is a time when you're ready and not a day longer.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but then you started expanding and exposing yourself in a lot of new opportunities. Today, you work for a Japanese company, and you were sharing how important it is to have that freedom and that entrepreneurship allowance to do your job. However, it's not always plain sailing in the world of manufacturing or the world of tech or so many industries that are, I would say, white male orientated. Have you ever suffered bullying in the workplace? And I'm not interested in people's names because we're not going to do that. But what is it like? What I want to get is your personal experience of what is it like to be a woman in the world of men.
Yeah, I mean it's got its challenges, hasn't it? I know you'll know this firsthand as well. And I think what I think is interesting is the organisations that I've worked in, I've never experienced bullying internally. It's always been external stakeholders. I think I've picked companies really well, actually, that have aligned with my values. I've experienced it with external, stakeholders that I've been working with. And it's really difficult. I think you go through this process of, hang on a minute, I don't like this. There's something kind of deeply uncomfortable about a situation that you immediately feel. And then I think your kind of rational consciousness takes over and goes, am I imagining this? Is this just me? And you go through so much doubt. I think that's the bit I struggle with the most, because I feel like I struggle with that anyway, whether you call it imposter syndrome or self-doubt or whatever. I'm harder on myself than anyone else ever possibly could be. So
I wouldn't say everyone.
Oh yeah, I'm sure everyone is.
We definitely are.
Yeah. And so once you feel that yourself, and then if you get, aggressive or bullying behaviour or intimidating behaviour, that just feeds that, and you just find yourself...
Makes you shrink.
It absolutely makes you shrink. And so I think what I've done, and sharing that I'd had this experience not that long ago, so this isn't something that's long in the past, this is something that women are experiencing now still. I internally, where's my support? Where's my ally? How can I find someone who can understand where I'm coming from on this and not immediately dismiss it, and equally not go over the top with it either, have the right kind of balanced response. So yeah, I'm really lucky that I do have that in the organisation I work in.
And that's really valuable, because it's not that it happens naturally, you are creating that as well.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're creating that network of support, that if you get bullied in the boardroom or in an external meeting, you have your team that will hold your space so that you can continue shining despite of other people's opinion.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you've got to be a little bit brave and courageous when you're building a support network. You've got to share bits of yourself, and perhaps some of yourself that you wouldn't normally share in a professional environment, or that you kind of, maybe you want to sort of think, oh, I'll just keep that bit hidden. I think you've got to show vulnerability sometimes. You've got to say, this did really deeply affect me and upset me. And I think that's quite difficult to do. You've got to have a bit of courage and bravery, I think, with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Having vulnerability in a place where you are expected to deliver all the time is not common.
No.
And it takes a lot of courage. You have been quite vocal about your personal life, your emotions on social media. I just wanted to hear, what was it that drove you to share that? Because it's a very personal emotion. But at the same time, what did you get out of doing it and having it out in the open?
So I had counselling for a number of years. I've written a book about the process on and off for about 8 years. And that was part of what taught me to kind of talk more about emotions and share more about emotions in a way that you're comfortable with. I don't think you have to be kind of something that you're not. I think it's about finding how you're comfortable to talk about how you feel.
In a way that it creates value rather than knocks you down.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess I always think, what would I have wanted to hear in this situation? So what would have helped me?
Yeah.
And then that's what I put out. So I always do it from a point of view of, if I had been reading this when I was going through this, whenever, what would have brought value? What would have helped me to feel less alone? And honestly, that's my big driver. Like, I think we all feel sometimes so alone, so lonely, especially in leadership. It's a really lonely place to be sometimes. And so I feel like if you can offer something on social media, in a conversation, in a podcast like this, where, people can go, oh God, I'm not alone. Oh God, I feel like that too sometimes. I just think, personally, I would have really valued that. So I hope that, people see that value. And I get some lovely messages on LinkedIn.
I was going to say, sort of, what feedback have you had?
Yeah, I get some lovely stuff. And again, I feel that feels like such a privilege and such an honour to put something out into the world, and then to have people respond to you. And often that isn't public. Often that is, a private message, but it is such a privilege. Yeah. And that kind of reinforces it. And I want to do that again, because I want to feel that, this is achieving what I wanted to achieve.
And you're reaching more people.
You're reaching people. People aren't feeling alone. And then that makes you feel stronger, more courageous. It's that kind of self-fulfilling
And it's the right thing
to
do.
It feels like the right thing to do, for sure. I think some people might disagree. Some people might think it's too open, too honest. I have to be probably careful about the employers that I choose, because they have to be okay with me being that kind of person.
But I mean, we're not right for everybody. So, just being yourself, being authentic, you will actually attract what's right for you.
Exactly.
How do you find your inspiration? What is your north? Or is there a person that you find, a hero that has supported you to want to do better, or to want to drive you forward?
That person would be my daughter. I think. So I'd had counselling before she was born, but she really pushed me to be a person that I wanted her to be proud of me, and therefore I needed to be the kind of person that I was proud of as well. I needed to look in the mirror and like what I saw back, and certainly, when she was born, that wasn't the case. She was that North Star, if you like, that real kind of impetus. But I get inspiration everywhere. I get inspiration, women like you saying, actually, do you know what, we need to do something like this. We need to do a podcast. We need to build a tribe of women who can be open and honest and share some of their challenges, and you just do it, right? You don't think of all the reasons why you shouldn't do it. You probably do, but you do. Trust me, I do. Yeah, but you do it because you know that it's going to help others. So I get that inspiration everywhere. There's so many great women doing incredible things, but doing those things in a way that's going to help and benefit others. And I just think that's so inspirational.
I think that is creating a voice, so that we don't have to live behind the mask all the time, so that we can allow ourselves ourselves to be plain authentic and raw as we are. There's no pretense in that.
It's a case of just having a conversation rather than constantly shouting.
Yes.
Because I think a lot of the roles that we've had, you feel as if you're constantly shouting just to be heard.
Discover a world of luxury shopping at Stall's Lifestyle. From fashion accessories to exquisite home interiors, indulge in the finest indulgences. There's much to see here at Stall's Lifestyle in Preston on Stour. A vast range of stock, including furniture, interiors, jewellery, and much more. Visit us at stallslifestyle.co.uk.
Yeah, definitely. And being yourself, as you
Yes.
say, like there's a lot of, I find in my work life, I've been quite a chameleon in terms of, especially some of the stuff that, you've done in the public-private world, because you've got to kind of talk one narrative to one
Yes.
group of stakeholders and another narrative to another group of stakeholders. And you can risk losing yourself sometimes in that chameleon-like behaviour.
But I mean,
So-
that's what G was saying about putting a mask on. I mean, when I started my career, being an accountant, I had a persona I had to be, and I tried desperately hard to be that persona, and it just wasn't me. It was only by breaking out of that I've actually found me, and I've succeeded more from that.
Yeah, definitely.
So is that something similar to you? You sort of set your business up, you've done your degree. It was expected that a girl in your position would do X, Y, Z. Did you achieve that, or did you break out of it?
Do you know, that's really interesting, because I think, like, I'm from Portsmouth originally, first member of my family to go to university, and I went to Oxford, and I got a first class honours degree from Oxford. So I think back then I was,
Congratulations.
thank you, carry that with me wherever I go. It might have been 25.
I know you should wear it on a t-shirt.
Exactly. It might have been 25 years ago, but who
I
cares?
survived Oxford.
Well, exactly.
And I did well.
Yeah, and I'm really proud of myself for that. I was very much that person, in my late teens and early 20s. I'm going to break the mold.
Yes.
I'm going to do what suits me and not think about what other people want me to be. And I think you're right. Then you perhaps go into the corporate world, and my career started in a company that was eventually bought by Vodafone. And so it was much more of kind of, actually, if I am a woman in this technology environment, I've got to be this, because that's what everybody else is.
Yeah.
So yes, I think it's only now that I'm sort of going, no, I break the mold. That's what I do. And I'm going back to going, yeah, no, that's what, I'm not going to do what's expected of me. So yeah, I almost feel like I'm rediscovering my teenage self.
So do I.
So I think I've learned to try and, you maintain that kind of authentic core. And you mentioned being authentic earlier, but then you just flex it depending on your audience. Because I think you can and I have pushed myself too far and gone, oh no, this isn't right. So it's kind of learning how to flex, but not so far that you break. And there's that thing, isn't there? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I really believe in that. Sometimes you want to go fast and far. So it's kind of how do you get impetus and not drag people, but convey that sense of urgency.
Find people who are faster than you and stick to them.
Yes. Exactly. And find the people who you can learn from, who are good at the things that you're not good at.
Yes.
I love being a sponge and just soaking up all of that information that people have got. That, as you say, if you ask the right questions and are interested, you can gain so much information that is useful to you. So
That's not going to go away, the vision of you as a sponge. So.
yes, soaking everything up.
SpongeBob. You shared before, and we tapped on it, on your emotions and feeling down. I hear that your daughter picked you up. I know my son does that, because they see the real you and your potential, and they're standing for your potential. But what did you learn from that experience, and how did you build yourself up, regardless of therapy and counseling and support structure? What did you learn for yourself?
So I learned that I'm more resilient than I think I am, definitely. And I think if you've ever been at that kind of place that you define as rock bottom. I mean, I don't know what, as you say,
never know. Hopefully we'll never discover.
Exactly. But I think when you've picked yourself up from that point and you're looking back on it, there is that sense of, wow, I was, more resilient than I probably ever gave myself credit for. So I think certainly I've learned that. And I think you learn the things that work, right? And I think it's interesting, I've learned as well the things that will make things worse. So it's a simple thing, but like if I'm feeling particularly sad, I like to listen to sad songs. But if you listen to too many sad songs, you get worse and worse. So it's like a 3 sad song limit, so that I feel like my sadness has been recognised by myself.
Acknowledged.
I've acknowledged it. I've acknowledged that that's how I'm feeling and that it's hard.
Yeah.
But then I've recognised that I need to pick myself up out of that point.
Yeah.
So you can't wallow in this. Like you said, I've got my daughter who wants and needs me to be, you know, someone who is there for her and
but
strong
also
for her.
believes in you.
Absolutely. Yeah, because otherwise how can I tell her to believe in
100%
herself?
love
Yeah.
and 100% believe.
Yeah, definitely. I've learned about myself and my own behaviour and the things that I do that is helpful and the things that I do that are not helpful.
Do you have any activities outside your business life that support you with who you are?
Running.
Yeah?
Running's my big thing.
Do you do marathons?
So I did a marathon in 2019. I like half marathons. I think they're my kind of favourite distance. I mean, a marathon is a lot of training. It's a lot of commitment. Yeah. So
is it a mixture between running and listening to music, or are you a quiet runner?
So I don't listen to music anymore. I used to when I ran, and now I don't. I feel like it's actually time where I need almost no external stimulus coming in. I need to get whatever I've got inside sort of out, if you like. I need to kind of work out how to process it.
So do you prioritise this sort of self-care?
Yeah. So
is that in the diary, and then your work fits around that?
Yes. Well, I'd say more work is, and then I slot it in. But I have a commitment to myself that this is how often I will run, because that's what I need. So it is a priority, but it tends to go, the work calendar's in, and then I go, right, when am I running?
So are you getting better at balancing sort of the work life?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And I think, again, you catch yourself, don't you, when you're going too much into, you know, when the balance is shifting too much in favour of the work.
So how do you start your day?
So no, I'm much more, I think, of a morning person than an evening person. I like to kind of be up at 6:30 and go to bed at 9:30. But yes, but no. So I get up, I walk the dog. I love that. Again, that's a bit of kind of time in my life where actually it's just.
What dog have you got?
A Shiba Inu, but she loves the sniff. Morning is sniffing.
Yeah.
I think they say it's like
socializing.
Yeah, they say it's like reading the paper for them.
Yes,
like they like to sniff so they find out what's going on. So there's no point running with her in the morning.
What's the sniff in the village?
Yes, exactly. What's the latest?
Great. Do you do any meditating or?
It just doesn't register with me. I think
it's just naturally
happening. I feel like I'm probably just not that kind of person that can dedicate that time and say, oh, this is what I'm going to do.
Do you set yourself with a goal on a daily basis, or do you just get on with the flow and let it happen?
So I normally like to have 3 things I want to achieve in a day, and they can be really kind of simple things, but they are normally the sort of things that I would put off. So I try and be strict with myself and say, look, these are the 3 things you need to get done today. And if you've done those 3 things,
pat on the
today
back.
is good.
So do you have easy days and hard days? Because I think I'm similar in as much that I have a things to do list, and I might put things on it that are quite easy to achieve. So as long as I've ticked those off, I feel I've achieved something just to get the ball rolling.
Yeah, definitely. And I think also knowing where you are, right?
Yes.
So actually, what do I need today? Do I need an easy day?
Yes.
So you've still got that sense of achievement,
Yes.
as you said, but you've been kind to yourself at the same time.
Yeah.
So and the worst thing is to overload.
Yeah.
I'm going to get all these things done today, and you know you're absolutely not. And then you finish the day feeling rubbish about yourself.
Now, you are a very smart woman. I've known you now, I think we met in October in the AI event.
Yes, that's
We're
right.
both on that panel. I admire you as a woman. I think you have a lot of courage, not just skill. Do you experience people being jealous around you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's...
Like people steal your ideas, what you suggested or what you've done, and they've created that themselves because they lack their own ideas.
See, I don't mind that. Like my partner and I always have this argument about credit, but I don't get credit for it. It doesn't bother me. It bothers me when I see that with other people, certainly. When you're talking about jealousy, I do think there are people who perhaps I can intimidate or I can make a bit nervous or
They
think
feel
sort of
threatened by your
threatened is the
resistance?
right word, exactly.
Or by your power?
Yeah,
By your light?
Yeah, and I feel like then what you get is an attempt to bring you down, right? So you get an attempt to undermine you, to belittle you. That really hurts. That really hurts. So yeah, I don't mind the ideas thing. If they want to steal my idea and run with it, brilliant, at least it happens. But I think if someone is trying to pull me down because they feel bad about themselves, I don't like to use the term unforgivable, but I feel it is unforgivable.
Well, it's
don't do
sad.
that to me. I can help you to feel stronger yourself if you can just be open and honest, but being destructive doesn't achieve that.
Yeah, same here. I can identify with that. What's your idea of success today?
I think, recording this podcast with you guys, I mean, we spoke about this last week, I think. We met on Monday and talked about it, and here we are today recording it. As I said, you're that kind of inspiration of just get on and do something. You think something's a good idea, just get on and do it.
Yes, stop planning it, just do it.
Exactly. Like there will always be reasons to not. There will always be more planning or more risk assessment or whatever. But actually sometimes what's the worst that could happen? We're sat here, we're having a great conversation. Yeah, this is definitely what success looks like for me today.
Fantastic.
So what sort of legacy do you hope to leave?
I always say I want to leave my daughter a better world than when I found it, when I arrived. I would love to live in a world where, people feel good about themselves so they don't need to bring other people down, so that actually everybody feels, strong and empowered and capable in their own way and in their own environments. And then, practically, I want the world to be cleaner. I want a cleaner environment. I want a planet that we can
healthier.
Healthier. I think healthier is the right word. Healthier in all ways. Sustainable planet, sustainable people. I would love to know that I'd left that gift to the next generation, because I feel like if we don't address that, they will have to, and it will just be worse. So how can we deal with some of these challenges that we've got?
I think as a mother, we all have that legacy. Because we all want to leave something better for our children, don't we?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And a better work environment.
Yes.
I'd love for her to not have some of the challenges that I've had, that she's in a more positive, more equal work environment.
So being SpongeBob.
Yes. I like that. SpongeBob Sarah.
No, I feel SpongeBob myself. I use that for myself. I feel like I am a SpongeBob. Does it bother you what's happening in the world today? Like, the world of politics, the world of threat, of war, of inequality, of hunger. Does it affect you?
Yeah. It can get quite emotional, can't it? And quite difficult to manage. And I think sometimes I have to bring myself back to the little bits that I am doing that can shift the dial.
Control over.
Yes, exactly.
Control over. Yeah, but I think politics in particular. And if I let's say I look just at this country, that it does really upset me. We're in this really confrontational, negative way of government. And I think I see glimmers of hope. I see, politicians that aren't like that. But on the whole, that's the narrative. And we're about to go into a general election. I imagine it's going to be a really negative. Oh, why can't that be a more positive experience?
A nurturing
experience. And you get a lot of, issues around the diversity in politics, but until we make it a better environment to be in, I just don't think you're going to get the positive people want to be part of it, because you'll just feel absolutely drained. And I think that's the negative of a SpongeBob, right? Like if you're absorbing all of this, this positive kind of information and learning from people, you can also absorb the negative that goes on around you, and I think that can be really hard to deal with.
It is difficult to actually don't own the negativity, just try and actually keep it external to yourself.
What is it that I can do that will shift the dial? And what is it, and don't they always say, like, be the change you want to see?
Yes.
What is it I can do that will show people what I mean when I say I want to live in a more positive world, in a more equal world?
From one woman in tech to the other. So given our SpongeBob-ness and absorbing of how the world is today, what do you see is going to happen when we create, not far from now, an AI that does not need human
I think the challenge for me is always who's creating it. And I think when you look at the big tech and the lack of diversity in those organisations developing these new technologies, that's the problem for me. And that we need to have, proper conversations about that and about how we manage and deal with that. AI is data. Data that goes into AI at the moment is very likely to have bias if we're not addressing that at source. So you're building something that then ultimately has bias, that then ultimately just makes any inequalities we've got in this world currently 100 times
Stronger.
worse. 100 times worse. That makes me really nervous. I love the technology. I absolutely think we need to embrace the technology. I think when you look at some of the things that it can do for SMEs in particular in terms of efficiencies within businesses, I think it's incredible. But we have got to be we've got to be really potentially quite challenging conversations about that lack of diversity. What we want to see is a collaboration and a collective environment. And I think that's really interesting. Somebody compared it to AI being like the invention of the internet. It is a game-changing technology. But did everybody benefit from the internet? Some companies benefit and some individuals and organisations and nations benefit substantially more than others.
Well, let's create a discussion in the future about it. I'm quite passionate about it too. But for today, I'm really grateful to have you here with us. I love that you're open, you're not scared to be vulnerable, or even if you're scared, you're still doing it.
Yes, a little bit scared still. I think we all would be.
But aren't we all?
Yes,
so
exactly.
I love the fact that we don't have to be perfect. We just need to keep moving forward.
Definitely.
So thank you so much for coming to Intimate Leadership. Julia, a pleasure to be here with you today.
Thank you, G, as always, and thank you, Sarah.
We want to thank Stoll's Lifestyle for their support today. And that is the power of intimate leadership. Thank you for listening.